So we, in the first time, I would like to just, I would like to mention about what the patriarchs just say and teach us how to practice. You see, it's a very difficult to focus, but in a sense, focus how to practice that in order to realize who we are. You see, our existence, our true existence is nothing concerned with thinking or concept. That's the reason it's very difficult to just realize who we are. See, when I just face, when I face this, see, I simply become as it is without doing anything, without doing anything without self, without self, without self, without what we think of the self. We simply just become as it is. Such a wondrous, such a wondrous thing. But people never will be able to understand it, this reality. You see, without doing, when I face this, I simply become as it is, without doing anything. See? Without doing anything, so I simply just become as it is. When I face this, see, I simply become as it is without doing. The things I just faced before is completely disappeared. It simply just become as it is. Why do we have to be? Why do we have to be? Without doing it, without self. See, we simply become as it is. Such a marvelous, wondrous thing. People never understand this reality. See, this causes problems, question, troubles. We are exactly ourselves, no doubt at all. But unfortunately, people don't know much about who they are. What we think about the self or I, delusion, creation of thinking. People completely deceived by thinking, the concept. People, when I just say this is a kind of a calendar, you see, when I say this is a kind of calendar, people say, oh yes, this is a calendar. No objection, no objection. But when I say this is yourself, this is yourself, people say, oh, so crazy. so such a crazy person like Gary-san. Yeah, no, I don't mean exactly. It is. See, when I say this is a calendar, nobody have any objection. But when I say this is yours, see, this is yourself, people say, yeah, absolutely, absolutely very bad. See, never accepted. But look at this. When I say this is a calendar, when I say this is yours, nothing changed. Nothing changed. See? This reality, this calendar, nothing concerned with thinking of concept. In other words, this is a totally different from what we think about the calendar itself. Oh. This is a very important aspect to realize who we are. People always just totally misunderstanding what reality is. That's the reason people always confuse what we have to do. See, oh, our activity is nothing concerned with thinking as concept. this activity is, as the Master Dogen just teaches, our activity is a complete and universal. Not the human activity at all. It was so fundamental. But essentially, we have to realize this reality. Otherwise, we always confuse with what we have to do, what we should be. This is the most important thing. Then here is such a calendar. There is number one. Number one. It said, see, hearing. Okay, it says, then is a way to verify the nature of our true self. See? Then, or you may say zazen. See? Then is a way to verify the nature of our true self. Only zazen. Only zazen. You'll be able to encounter the essential self. See? The essential self is entirely different from what we think of the self or I. It's totally different. That's the reason we have to do that. Then is a way to verify the nature of our true self. Yeah, unfortunately, people don't know much about, see, who they are, because they don't know much about what's the nature of true ourself. See, as I just mentioned about before, what we think about the self is a delusion, creation of thinking. That kind of existence never exists. That kind of self never exists. Just exists in your mind. See, that kind of self just exists in your mind. The true reality, the true reality is a manifestation of the self. See? When I face this, I simply become as it is. See? The reason why I just simply become as it is, this is my reality right now, right here. Not this one. This one is what people think of the body. What people think of a human body is a delusion. This is a Dharma body, Dharma body. See? This Dharma body is completely empty. Completely empty. Nothing exists. See? That's the reason when I clap my hand, everybody becomes this sound without doing anything. Why do we have to be? Everybody becomes this sound. Very wondrous. See? Not only what we think of the human being, but also this. See, whole universe become distant. Be understandable. This is Shakyamuni Buddha's realization. What we think about the self. That kind of thing is nothing concerned with what the Shakyamuni Buddha realized. Very tremendous. Everybody become distant. Everything's become distant. All universe become distant. See, it's a totally far beyond what we think about the thinking of thought. Thinking of our thought. That's the reason we have to do as others. then is a way to verify the nature of our true self. Unfortunately, people don't know much about who they are. That's caused us, and that's caused us trouble, question, problem, so-called suffering. Only this reason, nothing more or less. Only we don't know much about who we are. Once you just realize what the essential self is, we never have any trouble. We never have any trouble. Okay, very great. The true reality is a manifestation of the self. See? When I face this, I simply become as it is. This is my manifestation, manifestation of myself. Not this one. here, here, here. So you never be able to say what which is which the essential self is, which is the true self is, which true self is. One of these this. I simply become everything. I simply become everything. And at the same time, I simply just separate from everything. Oh, you never say, you never say anything. Which true self is. See, that's much our true existence, or the essential self is so huge, tremendous, totally, totally far beyond thinking or thought. People never understand it, this reality, even as the thinking concept. That's the reason we have to do zazen. See, zazen is the only way, zazen is the only way to realize who you are, to encounter the essential self. Okay. So we go back to today's the text number 16. Number 16. What it says, liberation. This is the most important thing for us to do. See, to realize who we are. See? As I just always mentioned, but unfortunately, people don't know much about who they are. See? That's the reason. See, always there is a certain discrimination or certain the gap between the things, between what you think about the self and others. See, so you never be always you never be just you never be able to satisfy with everything, because there is a certain gap. There is a certain gap between the things and what you think about the self. See, once you simply become the things as you faced. See, become one. The things you just faced. There is no gap, no separation, no discrimination. Then you never have anything. Oh, this is the thing. This is things what we think of the essential thing. See? Okay. So revelation to realize who we are. So how we will be able to realize who we are, who we are. What are the Jinen Roshi teachers? What's Jinen Roshi teachers? The moment, in the moment that you become aware of yourself, you assume that this body and mind was you. This body and mind was you. without knowing it. This, this is the most, and this is the biggest problem for us. Because everybody just recognize this one is the self. As I just mentioned, this one is not a human body. This one is a Dharma body. It's entirely different. See, as far as the Dharma body, see, this is the totally empty. Nothing exists at all. Nothing exists at all. See, but people just recognize this one as a self or I. Always, the people just recognize a kind of a substance, you see, as I or the self. That is a delusion. That is a delusion. This one is empty. Nothing exists at all. Once you just kind of idea of the self or I just come up in your mind, then you just recognize this one as an I or the self. Before that kind of the thinking just come out in you, you don't know much about what it is. You don't know much about what it is. People don't know much about this reality. Without knowing, without awareness, this one simply acting. This one is simply acting. That is a Dharma activity, not a human activities. Okay, don't be deceived by thinking. Okay, the moment that you become aware of yourself, you assume that this body and mind or you without knowing it. Without knowing it. See? People just simply just recognize this one as I. When, see, as I just always mentioned about, see, when we just exist in our the mother's body, then you just simply just come out on earth. Then at a time you just recognize the things. See, this one just has a kind of a function of recognition, function of concentration. So, concentration. Confusion. Which doesn't matter. The function of recognition. But very strange or very wondrous. Although this body is provided such a function of recognition, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So think of a baby or the child. They know much about. They don't know much about anything. They know much about. They never be able to aware of anything. But they just simply acting. They are simply acting without knowing the self or I. Without knowing anything. They are simply just acting. This is very wonderful. They know much about. They don't know much about anything. They're just acting perfectly, perfectly. Then at a time to come, see and the time we just recognize the thing. See? See? That is time for, that is time that what we think about the function of recognition just work, start working. See? Then you'll be able to just realize what it is. You'll be able to realize what it is. At the same time, you just recognize this as the self or I. Otherwise, you never be able to recognize anything. See? At least you'll be able to just recognize the things. The two things, just there is two things have to be. See? One is the things to be recognized. The other one is a person who just recognizes. Otherwise, you never be able to recognize anything. So when you just recognize this, see, at the same time you recognize this one as I or the self. See? This reality, people don't know much about this. See? Before you recognize this one, see what we think of the self never exists. What we think about the self never exists. Once you just recognize this, then you recognize what it is. At the same time, you just recognize, see this one as I or the self. I. This is a kind of a function of recognition. People don't know much about this reality. See? Before you recognize this, see? What we think of the self never exists. See, that is the creation of thinking. What we think of the self is a creation of thinking. Nothing exists at all. What we think of the self is just exists in our mind. That is not a reality itself. Okay, this is a very important thing to realize who we are. Okay, so this is the greatest weakness associated with revelation. Okay? That's the reason. As Master Dogen just teach you, see, if we just want to realize who we are, see, whatever thinking or thought come out in our mind, just simply let it go as it is. This is Zazen. This is Zazen. Although it's very easy to say, but it's totally difficult to do because people always attach to thinking ourselves. So people always do anything, everything. People always doing everything by thinking ourselves. See, but even you do, you don't want to do it. You never be able to do it because our activity is nothing concerned with thinking. So people don't know much about this reality. And that's why the people always are attached to thinking. So our activity is as a Master Dogen, the teacher. Our activity is complete and universal, not the human activities. This is a very important thing. See? But that's the reason we have to just recognize this reality at the first time, even this reality by a reason or a concept. See? First. Then otherwise you don't know much about this reality. See, you never be able to do a zazen because see, so many doubt vacation come out in your mind. That's the reason you cannot do zazen. So that's just a kind of a question or doubt just come out in your mind. Just ask us. Okay. This assumption, this assumption, this assumption cannot be reconciled with your current thinking. See? What we thinking about, what we thinking about the thinking is, see, as far as thinking, there is certain separation between this and this. See? There is certain separation between this and this. See, that's the thinking. Otherwise, you never be able to just think of anything. There is certain gap. There is the certain separation. See? One is others, one is others, and but the other one is the self. Then you'll be able to just recognize this, and then you'll be able to say, oh, the kind of thinking just come out in your mind later. That's the thinking. But reality, reality, or true mind, see? True mind is no separation, no separation between this and this. See? No separation when I face this. I simply become as it is, without doing, no separation. But people don't know much about this reality. Very unfortunate. And see, the thing, the separation. What do you say? What do you think about the separation that's coming out in your mind is later? But before, you see, before separation coming up in your mind, see, there is no separation. See? In another word, without thinking, we completely know much about what it is. We know much about what it is without thinking. See? This is non-thinking. This is non-thinking. People never understand this. This reality is non-thinking. Without thinking, we know we'll be able to know much about everything. What it is. Oneness. See, I simply become as it is. See, become one. See? Itself. I simply become itself. So itself is not necessary. Itself is itself is. It's not necessary. It's not necessary to know much about what itself is because of itself. And it's totally impossible to know much about what it is, what's itself, because of itself. Because of itself. People don't know much about this. Very simple. Itself, as it is. Oneness. You don't need to know much about what oneness is, because of itself. That's the reason without thinking, without knowing, we know much about everything. See? People don't know much about this reality. See, that's the reason people always confuse what we have to do, what we should do. We don't need to do it. This always, when I face this, simply become reality. The end. And when I face this, I simply become as it is. The end. Without doing anything. We are completely active. Right now, right here. That is the essential self. People don't know much about this reality. That's the reason we have to do as that. This assumption cannot be reconciled with your current thing, because our current thinking is always separated from this and this. See? That's the reason you never be able to realize what's the oneness is. What's the oneness is. Always certain separation between the things and what you think about self. That's the reason. Once you're thinking or what is my idea or concept or whatever, see, completely disappear, completely dropped away. See, once you're thinking or concept or completely disappear, there is nothing exists. There is nothing exists. This existence is, see, nature being, nor not being, neither being, nor not being, this kind of nothing. Will be able to understand. See? It's a totally impossible to realize this reality by thinking of concepts. That's the reason we have to do a sadhana. See, there is nothing exists at all. See, then something happened. Then something happened. Then you realize this sound. Then you'll be able to encounter the essential self. This is the thing. Nothing different, totally different from what we think about the self. See? Otherwise, you never be able to encounter the essential self. That is Shakyamuni Buddha's realization. Okay. The reason for this is that the activity of recognition, the activity of recognition itself doesn't know its origin or because the what's the activity of recognition itself doesn't know its origin or cause. Because activity of the recognition is come out later. See? Before recognition, as I just mentioned, before recognition, see, there is no separation. There is no separation between this and this. See, one. This is a before recognition, reality of before recognition. Then you just recognize this. See, you recognize this. Then there is a certain separation come up. See, then you'll be able to recognize what it is. And then at the same time, you just recognize this one as I or the self. See, there is certain separation. This is not true. This is not reality. See? Reality is there is nothing. Nothing exists. See? Current thinking. See, our current thinking doesn't know much about this reality. That's the reason. See? We never be able to know much about what are the origin or cause of the true mind. See? Totally deluded. The thinking is totally deluded. Okay. Kokoro. Kokoro is a Japanese. Very great. Nelson, you know much about Japanese. Kokoro. Kokoro is mind, heart. Gary-san. You know much about Japanese. Modern I do. You know much about modern I do. That means you're still in library. Kokoro. Kokoro library. Kokoro. Okay, very good. Okay. Kokoro is a mind or heart, whatever. Kokoro itself is Kokoro itself is incapable of knowing it, the true nature. But this kokoro is what we think about ourselves. See? The true kokoro, true mind. See? True mind is the totally capable know much about, knowing much about, of knowing much about everything without doing, see? Without doing anything, without self. This kokoro is, we call it Buddha mind. Buddha mind. See? Here, what we thinking about the kokoro is a uh, human kokoro, human mind. This is so tiny. Human mind is so tiny. See, that's the reason people always fight, conflicts with each other. It's so tiny. The Buddha mind is universal, universe itself. That's the reason so tremendous. See, there is nothing concerned with the self or other. So there is no fighting. It's not it's not necessary to fight with each other. See, universal, universe itself, so huge, Buddha mind. So that's the reason the patriarchs, some patriarchs just teach non-self is the universe. See, once what we think of the self completely dropped away, then you become we become universe itself. And that's much. The essential self is so huge, tremendous. That's the reason we have to do that. See, otherwise you never be able to encounter the essential self. Only one chance, only one chance. Within your life, within our life, we have to realize this reality. We never be able to have any more chance to be human being. Only one chance. Within this, within our life, we have to do it. Okay. It is the extent to which we try to deal with the discrimination by using discrimination. That we are unable to see ourselves as the Dharma body existing in the Dharma. See? What we think about thinking is, see, once we have a trouble, we just figure out, we always just deal with the trouble by thinking. Then you do this more. You just have another trouble, and then you just try to deal with it, deal with by thinking. Always you just try to figure out or deal with by thinking. See? This is a way of what we are just doing in our daily life. And this is a cause of trouble. See, we don't need to do it. We don't need to do it. See, what we think about the self, or what we think of the thinking or thought, just come out in our mind without any reason. Without any reason. people don't know much about this reality. That is always people just try to deal with the trouble by thinking or concept. It's a totally useless, totally useless. The more you do, the more you be confused. It's a totally useless. But unfortunately, people don't know much about this. That's the reason. That's the reason we have to do that. The more you do that, whatever what that then is, as I just mentioned about whatever thinking or thought come out in your mind without any reason. So we don't need to care much about those kinds of thinking. So they don't simply just let it go as it is. This doesn't. See, Shakyamuni Buddha will basically recommend us to do. The more you do this doesn't, the more you just become the things you just face right now. The eventually, there is no separation. There is no separation between this and this. See? Then you'll be able to encounter the essential self. And this does. See, we have to do in order to realize who we are. Okay, where is it? This is where the big problem lies. This is where the big problem lies, is as I just mentioned. See? Always we just try to figure out, deal with the problem, thinking of problem or question or trouble by thinking. This is a big problem. This is totally useless, but people always do it. It causes trouble. It causes confusion. It's not necessary to say, as I just mentioned, thinking of thoughts come out in our mind without any reason. It's just like a bubble, just like a bubble in the river. So without any reason, just bubble come out. We don't need to do. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to take care of it. Anything. Simply just let it go. No, thank you. No, no, no. See? Okay. This is happening. See, we wanna just recommend you as I recommend you to do. Okay. So once you truly detach yourself from the human viewpoint, only then do you understand. See? Even you just even you just understand this reality by thinking or by the concept, it's a totally useless. You never be able to do it. You never be able to be like this. Be like this. See, even you just this is sun. I just simply become as it is, but there is certain separation. This is certain separation between this and what you think about the self. Once, once you, once you completely detach the thinking of self, so you simply become as it is. You simply accept it, this sound, what we think about ourselves. There is no separation between the sound and what you think about yourself. This much we have to do as others. Okay, this is really this is really okay. So once you truly detach yourself from the human viewpoint, or thinking, see, completely human viewpoint or thinking, disappeared, dropped away. Then you'll be able to accept it. That's it. Okay. To briefly describe the condition at that moment, there inevitably comes a time when one completely forget all human viewpoint and the relationship between self and and others truly vanish entirely. This is Genroshi's realization. See, realization exactly same as what the Shakyamuni Buddha realization is. Genroshi just did it. That's the reason he will be able to just teach us like this. To briefly describe the condition at that moment. There is no separation. there is no separation between this and this. There inevitably comes a time when one completely forget all human viewpoint. See, once the thinking of the concept, completely disappears. Then, as I just said, there is no separation between this and this. Only then, where is it? And the relationship between self and the other truly vanish. Truly vanish entirely. You don't know much about anything. At this moment, you never be able to realize who you are. But the things come up. Then you recognize this sound, and you'll be able to recognize this one. Then you'll be able to know, this time, this moment, we just recognize this one as I or self. Before we just recognize anything, before we just recognize something, this one, what we think about self, never exists. This is a very important thing. That's my Shakyamuni Buddha's realization is perfect, certainty. See, that's the reason we have to do. That's the reason we have to do. That's it. The state of life in which the state of the life in which we have completely forgetting that relationship between self and others is precisely the condition in which we ordinarily live. Right now. Right now. There is no separation between this and this. This reality comes first. Then you recognize this. See, you recognize this, and then at the same time, almost same time, you recognize this one. And there is certain separation. There is certain separation between this and this. Comes later. But unfortunately, as far as human being, as far as human, we never know much about what's before recognition is. This is totally problem. The people don't know much about what's happening before recognition. What people understand or know much about what's happening is after recognition. After recognition is the creation of thinking. That is another that is not the reality. Before before recognition. Before recognition. When I face this, I simply become as it is, without doing anything. In other words, without self. Without self, I simply become as it is. The end. Nothing left. And end. Very simple. Nothing left at all. That's the reason we never have any troubles. Nothing left. But as far as thinking, there is a certain, 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 certain the things remain or left. They always just that's kind of that's the reason people always try to figure out what's the kind of the things that happen. See, occurred. Nothing left. Nothing is. We don't need to do. We don't need to do anything. Nothing. Just as it is. And very, very simple and nothing concerned with the problems, question, trouble. That's the essential of ourselves. The people don't know much about this. No. That's the reason we have to do that. To briefly describe the condition at that moment, there inevitably comes a time when one completely forgets all human viewpoint and the relationship between self and others truly vanish entirely. Very, very great. See? Okay. However, says other precisely, and other is precisely the condition in which we ordinarily live right now. But even the Roshi just teaches, people never accept it. And this is a whole problem. See, if you just accept, oh yes, the things just happening, then just like you just teach at the end. Well, you never be accept these realities. You never be able to accept this reality. That's the whole problem. That's the reason we have to do that. However, unless one has forgotten oneself one time, once he forget, once he just forget about everything, then you'll be able to just accept it. Ah, yes, that's it. Okay, one cannot know, one cannot know, one cannot accept in agreement. You never be able to just accept it. That's the reason we have to do that until we forget about everything. But what people think about, oh, we just forget everything. Oh, that's a tremendous. That's a tremendous. We just worried about that kind of state of condition. But we don't need to worry about anything. Right now, right now we are acting this way. We completely forget about everything. We never be able to aware of anything. Simply acting without awareness. We are simply acting. Nothing concerned with. This activity is nothing concerned with what we think of the self. See? That's the reason we have to do. See? We have to do that. Okay. It's not just hearing or seeing. It's trying to hold on what you hear, think, and see. It's merely a way of thinking. See, when we just think of something, when we think of something, we never are aware of what we are doing, what we are thinking, what we are thinking. See, what we are thinking, what we are thinking of something. We never be able to aware of what we thinking of. See, you never be able to aware of it. If you can aware of it, see, there is such a separation between thinking and what you think of it. That's much. Our activity is always, see, separated from thinking. Without thinking, without awareness, without awareness, we are simply acting. See? That's the reason we don't need to worry about anything without awareness. We don't know much about what we are doing right now. The whole problem is, you know much about what you are doing. You know much about what you are doing. This is a whole problem. See, that's reason one. See, you completely forget about yourself. Then you'll be able to accept this reality. What this reality is, non-self is a universe. You never have any trouble. You never have any trouble. Right. This doesn't. Only does you'll be able to encounter this reality, this essence of self. You never have any trouble, question, problem at all. God-san, even you just try to be in library so many years, you never have any trouble unless you are aware of what you are saying, where you are staying. You never have any trouble. Okay, congratulations. Hi, thank you so much. So, the day after tomorrow, we're going to just sing again. Tom-san, continue concern to just doing it. Whenever just have a question, please send an email. Okay. Vasily-san, I just want to meet a kind of Lopas-san, not you. Thank you, sir. Okay, very good. See you. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.